and you're watching 60 Cycle Hum, and in this video, I'm going to have some fun exploring and showing off two pedals by Universal Audio. I'm talking about the Golden Reverberator here and the Starlight Echo Station. Obviously, the Golden Reverberator is a reverb. Yeah, it drips. I'm pretty excited about that. And the Starlight is an echo or a delay. Oh man. Obviously, I wanted to check out the Golden for that drippy spring reverb. And I think they did a fantastic job on it. Like, they really did a great job of capturing a drippy, springy, like surfy sort of sound. It's not an emulation or a model of a Fender outboard reverb unit, a 6G15, but it's a really good version of a onboard spring reverb. Like, if you imagine like a really drippy, like Fender style reverb in an amplifier, it does a great job of sounding like that. But the tape echo that they put in here, like, the reverb is great. It's really good. The tape echo in here, they went above and beyond. It is fantastic. I've had the pleasure, the privilege of getting to spend a little bit of time over the years with some real tape echoes, and they did it. I don't think I've played with any other pedal or digital emulation of a tape echo that captured the soul and the physical response and the feeling and the vibe of an actual tape echo. I got to use a tape echo on my band's album years and years ago. I got to use one at Thomann. I got to play around with one at JHS. There's been a few other times I've got to mess around with them, and it's always like bordering on a spiritual experience. Just the way that it sounds, the way that it feels, watching that tape kind of wiggle around in the top of those things. And I think they nailed it. They did a really great job. This is the one to beat. All other pedal makers out there, if you're trying to do a tape echo, this is the top dog now. As far as my experience is concerned, maybe there's a better one out there. You guys tell me. But anyways, I want to start off with the Golden and go through that spring reverb setting. I'm going to kind of cruise through, just breeze through the other settings that are on each of these, because the spring reverb and that tape echo, those are really the ticket for me. Those are the things that really make the hair stand up on the back of my neck. All right, here we go. We're going to start off with a preset that I made on the Golden for that spring reverb sound. Listen to this trail. The way the signal shifts and changes. You get that splash and that drip and this bright kind of ringing, and then as it fades, you hear like a physical spring. You can hear the individual coils of the spring like shaking around. Oh, I love that. The attention to detail there is just fantastic. That pulse at the end. By the way, I'm running both of these in stereo into my two Princeton's rig. I can't actually see it right now, but I know that it's there, and it cracks me up every time. But anyways, from what I understand, from reading the literature on these and hearing people talk about them that know how they work, it's not doing some sort of post-processing on a mono signal to do a stereo width thing. It's taking your dry signal, splitting it into stereo, and then applying an individual reverb to each side. So it's basically running two reverbs at the same time when you're doing stereo. Same thing for the Starlight. It's running two delays at the same time when you're running in stereo. To me, it doesn't feel like an artificial like stereo effect here in room. It doesn't feel like some sort of panning thing or one side got a different EQ than the other to give it some depth. It feels three-dimensional. It feels like I've got the reverb up on both of my amps. Like they're just independent reverbs running. I'm pretty impressed with the whole thing as far as these two pedals go. But yeah, in room, the feel is just fantastic. Let's go through some of the settings now, because there's a lot you can do with here. I've got it dialed in to be a very normal and standard surf reverb sort of sound. First control is decay. On the spring setting, it's not a knob. It's a three-way switch. I've got it set to the longest spring setting, because of course. In the middle, you have the default kind of medium-sized spring. And all the way to the left, you have the shortest spring. I really love that they paid attention to the details. They honored the details so closely that it's not just like a decay length change, because they could have just made it a decay knob. But it does sound and feel like different sized spring tanks. The decay does change, but the EQ changes, the response changes, like that physical response. I'm really impressed, honestly am. All right, next up is the pre-delay. If you're going for a surf guitar sound, a drippy reverb, you don't want to turn up the pre-delay. You want it all the way down. You want that drip right on top of your playing. But if you're getting more experimental, more ambient or something like that, you turn it up and it separates that reverb splash from your initial note. It actually goes so long that you could kind of treat it like a delay reverb. That's pretty fun. I think pre-delay is very useful on more ambient style reverb settings where you want some separation between your initial note and a big kind of like thick, rich reverb trail coming in after it. But yeah, for surf guitar, you want it real tight and fast. I mean, you could give it a little bit of space. Nah, you want it tight. All right, next up is the mix knob. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Turn it all the way to the left. Why would you do that? But you could turn it up a little bit and get a really subtle reverb. If that's the way you use reverb, just really subtle like that, just kind of in the background, you probably don't need this pedal. You can probably get that from so many other pedals. But if you're like me and you obsess over reverb and you really spend a lot of time thinking and listening to that drip in the spring, it's one of those things where this is a specialty reverb. And I know they're expensive, but the cost of it makes a lot more sense when you are a reverb specialist and it is the core of your sound. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I spent close to $500 on my actual spring reverb unit, the Fender unit that's behind me there, and those things go for like $1,000 now. So getting a pedal that does those sounds really great for 400 bucks. Yeah, if you specialize in those sounds, it's not a big deal. There it is, all the way wet. A little bit of a shelf right there. It's got, you know, some dry still mixed in, and then you cross that. And it's all the way wet. For my taste, I like it somewhere in the middle. Right about there. This switch right here is important. It gives you 3 different flavors for each setting over here. We are on the A setting, which is the bright spring reverb setting. Obviously, that's my go-to. In the middle position, there is a smooth spring reverb setting. Back to bright for comparison. That B setting, the smooth setting, in my opinion, pushes harder into an amp style reverb. It's darker, it's more lush, it's more filled out, but it doesn't have that bright, slappy, drippy sort of sound. It still has a drip, but it's smoothed out quite a bit. And then the last setting is an ambient setting. I never think of spring reverb as ambient, but here it is. I have a feeling that's modeling some kind of studio-based spring reverb. It's really, really rich. It's much, much darker than the other settings. Definitely doing like a bigger ambient style trail on there. Let's try that with the pre-delay up. Yeah. Go back to my preferred setting. Now you've got 2-band EQ, which is unique for spring reverb. You're never going to find that, well, I can't say never, but I've never encountered that on a physical spring reverb unit. I've never encountered it on an amplifier with a spring reverb inside of it, but it is very nice to have. I like that a lot. I wouldn't mind a 3-band EQ. I wouldn't mind a 10-band EQ for my spring reverbs, honestly. All right, and lastly, there is a modulation knob. Another thing I've never encountered on a spring reverb, but I welcome it. It's honestly really fun. It does a wow and flutter thing on the spring reverb setting, which is what you associate with tape echo, like what you get over here. I've had it up a little bit. Take it all the way out. Dime it. See what that sounds like. Kind of over the top on that setting, but pretty great if you're doing like ambient sorts of sounds. But I do like it in the mix a little bit. like right about there, it just gives an extra bit of beauty and depth and just like a moving feeling that is really nice in room. I'm getting goosebumps. Let's try that on the ambient spring setting. I've been jumping around, changing settings and whatnot, but at any time I want, I can go back to the preset and it's exactly where I left it. Say I want to tweak it a little bit and then save it, all I do is hold down the switch, it flashes for a few seconds, and now it's saved. Let's breeze through some of the other settings. The same as I just spent a bunch of time exploring just the spring reverb, I could do that with all 3 of the other settings. But I'd rather rush through them and get to that tape echo because I specialize in spring reverb and I really, really, really like this tape echo. But anyways, here is the plate setting. We'll go to the A bank on there. Just really pretty plate. The vast majority of time, I don't think or care about plate reverbs at all. I'm a spring boy, but every now and then I run into one that's got a really unique character to it. And I think because Universal Audio is so focused on these pedals, on capturing effects that have a physical component to them that need to be modeled, I think there's something really compelling about this plate. It really grabs my attention. Because I think they're just not repeating a studio algorithm version of a plate. They are trying to model a physical plate reverb, and that brings in a lot of little artifacts and kind of physical responses and dynamic responses that just feel better somehow. It's got a nice splash to it too. I like that sweet little got a great personality. All right, the Hall 224. I think this is actually based on a Lexicon reverb. So it is a, you know, a digital reverb based on a digital reverb. It sounds good, but it's not the kind of reverb that I care about. All right, there's a secret setting on here. Not really a secret because they beg you to go get it when you open these up and you read the manual. It's their way of getting you to go over to the Universal Audio website and register the product so that you can get one more setting on here. You see that it's green now. There's the red setting at the top. That's the spring setting. You push up, and now you are in the extra mode. You have to go onto the website, register the pedals, and upload the thing to them. It is called the Chamber and Plate 224. So I'm assuming another kind of Lexicon-based sort of sound here. Very lush and ambient. Ooh, really neat. A high shimmer on that. Oh yeah. Oh, I like that. Kind of a neat modulated lo-fi take on a shimmer that's not a shimmer. It just does this kind of like high frequency lo-fi thing at the end there. That would be good church reverb right there. I'm glad I downloaded. I am. So one more thing before I move on to the Starlight. I mentioned that they're splitting the dry signal and applying 2 reverbs to each side, showing off kind of like the processing power that this thing has, but it doesn't stop there. You can double that, and it can technically be running 4 reverb trails at the same time. I'm going to go over to the normal kind of setting here, not the preset. And let's make a big, like, droning reverb sound. That's just to show off. You could preload, like ramp up this pad sound on your normal setting here or on the preset setting and then switch over to the other side and have that pad running while using a totally different reverb sound at the same time. And considering that it's running two channels, two different reverbs in stereo, and then you're doubling that, it's running 4 reverbs at the same time. I don't know a lot about how these things work, but in my mind, it sounds like there's a lot going on there to make that happen. Like this thing, they're a little bit power hungry. They take a 400, 300 milliamps, I think, something like that. You can feel that they get warm as they're running. It's doing some serious computing in there to make that happen. All right, on to the Starlight now. I wasn't able to find it just now, but every now and then you can hear they've simulated the spot where the tape is like taped together into a loop, and it like has this little hiccup. I'm trying to find that. You hear that? That was it. That weird little hiccup. Oh, that's so cool. They went out of their way to not just model the sound of a tape echo, because there's a lot of pedals that kind of hit that kind of wow and flutter sort of sound of a tape echo, but they modeled the flaws, the little hiccups like that, the weird like kind of gainy things that happen when you push it, that little like the tape on the actual magnetic tape connecting it together that makes it hiccup. Chef's kiss. I really am impressed. I honestly am. The spring reverb on here, the tape echo on here, just fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, they could take those two settings and put them in one pedal, and I could do without the rest. The rest are great, but I would probably invest myself $399 into getting one pedal that did both of those things, and only those two things. Let's go through some of the controls on here. You've got tap tempo, you've got your on and off. You can access a preset here. It's a little bit, fidgetier than what you have over here where you have an on and a preset. You have to hold it down for like a second and a half to get to the preset. You can get into the app for these, which connects to your smart device wirelessly, and change that setting so it can be a hard preset or it can be a standalone tap tempo with no preset. I'm going to leave it on the stock setting, which is tap tempo and preset. It's just a little bit irritating to me that I have to wait a second and a half to get into the preset. All right, you've got your delay time control up here. Of course, you can control the time with your tap tempo here, and you have subdivisions. I really like the double subdivisions, where you get a quarter note and a dotted eighth, or you get a quarter note and an eighth there. Feedback control, because of course. There's that tape pickup. It's so fun. You never know what's gonna hit. The mix control. Color. I think color does something different on every setting. On the tape echo, it adjusts record level. Kind of saturates it into kind of an overdriven sound when you have it all the way up. Turn it down to get more clean. Obviously, you have to compensate by bringing up the mix. I like it up. I like it when it gets dirty. This thing's going straight on my board. It just is. All right, now the mod control. This does different things for each setting as well. On the tape, it is your wow and flutter, obviously. dirty and destroyed. And it's got this simulated like hiss in there. All right, there's a 3-position switch here which controls the age of the tape, I think, if I remember that correctly. Yes. Machine model and tape age. Got darker on that middle setting. Yeah, it gets darker and you lose fidelity and clarity as you go down on those presets. Too cool. I don't think I'm ever gonna own a real tape echo just because the maintenance involved with them is so intense. I'm certainly never gonna gig with one if I do ever own a real tape echo. But damn, this thing does it. I'm excited. I'm excited to use this live. I love those sounds. The feel in room takes me back to that handful of times I've had the privilege of using real tape echoes in person. Like, it gives you that physical experience. The way it reacts to your playing, the way those wows and flutters comes in, the way the little glitches where the tape is connected comes in. I know I'm gushing. I know we're in the gush zone right now, but to balance this out, I get that these pedals are on the pricey side of things at $399, but honestly, these are pedals for specialists. If you specialize and wrap your sound around a drippy spring reverb, like I said earlier, the price isn't that big of a barrier. If that is like the core of what you do, if you have been wanting a tape echo sound, like a real tape echo sound, and nothing has been scratching that itch, and you're a normal, practical person who realizes it's not practical to have real tape echo, it's really not that big of a barrier to get that sound out of this. Like, if I was going to have a band or like a recording project that needed a tape echo sound as like a necessity, yeah, I'd get one of these for sure. All right, let's check out some of the other settings on here. Gush zone, guys. I think by now, if you've watched this channel enough, you can tell when I really, really like something, and I really, really like these. All right, on to the analog deluxe Memory Man style setting here. actually think the analog setting on here does a really fantastic job of capturing those original Memory Man units. I actually got to play a vintage Memory Man at JHS when I was out there earlier this year, and it was very different from all the other pedals I've ever tried over the years that claim to be doing a deluxe Memory Man thing, because it has this overload thing. It has this little red LED, and if you overload the circuit, it pushes into drive and grit and stuff like that, and it sounds very, very cool. And just like how they captured, you know, like the little quirks, the personality things in that tape echo and in the spring reverb that on a technical level by the numbers are flaws, but bring in so much personality and these iconic sounds. They captured the flaws and the, you know, the warts and everything, the freckles and the warts of a deluxe Memory Man with this setting. If I was a deluxe Memory Man fan, the way I'm a fan of tape echo, I'd probably be just as excited for this. It's really fun and really cool. It's just not a sound I usually mess around with. That grit that comes in is exactly what I'm talking about. That overloaded sound. It's too cool. It's too good. I think one of my bigger criticisms of the Starlight is that racking the delay knob isn't quite the same as racking the knob on an actual analog delay. It doesn't follow my movements quite so quickly and precisely. It's not immediate. It kind of like trails behind whatever I'm doing on there. You can make spaceship sounds with it, but you got to be kind of tender and slow with it. It does it, but there's something about the feel of it that I can't quite explain, where it doesn't quite have the same physical response, like the immediate in-person response of racking the tie knob on an actual digital or analog delay pedal. You can get wacky with it though. All right, on to the mod setting. A is vibrato, B is off. and C is chorus. So wacky. I wonder if that little hiccup where the speed changes when you go to the B setting is intentional. I think it might be switched. I think the A is chorus and the C is vibrato. That was a funky riff. By funky, I mean bad and wrong. All right, on to the precision setting. This is a studio style digital delay. I'm actually a lover of digital delay. One of my favorite delay pedals of all time is just the DD3. That does some funky things when you rack the time knob. So on this you have the color control, which does tone. So bright. Then the mod control, which on different settings, I think does flanger and chorus? Yeah, flanger, off, and then chorus. All right, on to that last extra secret setting. This is actually really fun and really unique. I forget what they call it, the Cooper something. The Cooper Time Cube. That sounds very sci-fi. I read up on it a little bit. I read their literature. It sounds like it's some a very unique studio delay that involves a rubber garden hose coiled up in a box. So they took that sound, they took that concept, and they took it to its logical extreme. They said that in the literature that normally it's just a really fast echo because the hose is only so long. But they made a simulation of a hose that's like 2,000 feet long or something like that. So you can get a really long garden hose delay out of this. Interesting that it captured that little freak out as I was adjusting the time knob. If you're creative with it, it sounds like you could, you know, like hand manipulate some really unique sounds that way. So no modulation on this. You get treble and bass control with the color in the knob. And then the 3 position is for a filter. Off in the up position, mid, and then high. Very lo-fi. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to spend some quality time with the Cooper Time Cube, figuring that out. I think I could find some fun sounds in there that I could have fun with. But yeah, that tape echo, so good. The Deluxe Memory Man, they nailed it. They nailed it. They captured the sounds that I haven't found in other pedals that have claimed to be Deluxe Memory Man style pedals. That overdriven, kind of like clipped out sound. Yeah, it's got a digital delay, a really simple but effective digital delay. I think I remember there being a bit of like a ping pong on that. Yeah, goes back and forth. Does this one have that? Yeah, a little bit of a ping pong. Yeah, all of them have a little bit of a ping pong in stereo mode. I'm assuming with both of these, eventually they're going to have more models that you can load in there and use the app or the desktop program to kind of manage them. I mean, you should be able to have at least 6 settings on here, considering you push up and you get into a fourth, you think there would be a fifth and a sixth down there eventually. So I'm hoping that they do model an actual Fender 6G15 outboard spring reverb unit to have like an official model of that. I think the drippy reverbs in this that are modeled after amp reverbs sound great, so I'm sure they could nail that. Otherwise, what do you guys want to hear? What do you want them to develop? Comment down below. Maybe they'll read the comments. I don't know. They don't even know that I'm doing this video. I'm doing it through Sweetwater, not through Universal Audio. But yeah, I hope that they do a Fender outboard reverb unit model for the Golden, because I'm really stoked on both of these. I think they're both going to make it on my board next time I play live. This is definitely going on the pile of pedals that I can recommend for a surf reverb for sure. What do you guys think? I want to know what you think about these pedals. Are you in the group of people that would consider the price worth it? Because they're not cheap. These are not cheap pedals. They are on the high end for pedals. With the experience I'm having as a surf guitarist and someone who spends a lot of time fantasizing and thinking about these older physical effects, pre-pedal sorts of effects, tape echo, spring reverbs and stuff like that, they do it for me. They really do. And if I was a consumer watching this video, I would be gassing pretty hard for this and then considering this. I mean, I don't really need tape echo, but based on my personal experiences with them and being able to capture those sounds with this, it's pretty exciting. It's like guitar effect fantasy camp. The only way it could be better is if it had a little like video display underneath the knobs showing like a virtual reel of tape winding around and feeding in there and stuff like that. That would be so cool. All right, I'm going to play out just by hitting these with some fuzz. I've got the Park Fuzz here by Earthquaker Devices. I think it's important to know that a reverb and a delay can handle gritty, nasty fuzz in front of them. Should I do baritone? I should do baritone.